Welcome back. You're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest, live on 1150 KKNW. We provide our listeners with information from business professionals to bring solutions to your daily life and local charities to provide you with the opportunities to give back to your community as well. And today, we are in studio with Vicci Hilty and Karen McKeen. Vicci serves as the Executive Director for the Domestic Violence Services, Snohomish County, where she has worked for just over 15 years. Vicci graduated summa cum laude with a BA in General Studies and a minor in Business Administration. She has 34 plus years of marketing and public relations experience, 26 of those focused in development work and administration for nonprofit organizations throughout Puget Sound. Vicci is actively involved in her community with several organizations, and she recently co-created an exciting new networking group of powerful women, woo, we love that, in leadership of Snohomish County. Vicci is a native Texan who transplanted to the Pacific Northwest 29 years ago. She's married to her husband of 36 years. They have a son, Blake, who is an avid athlete and a dedicated attorney in Seattle with a beautiful 18-month-old granddaughter. Karen McKeen is the Deputy Director of the programs at DVS of Snohomish County. Karen has worked with DVS over 14 years as both a staff member and volunteer on the board of directors. She is a member of the Homeless Policy Task Force. The Snohomish County DV Coalition serves on the Strategic Planning Committee of the Partnership to End Homelessness, and the Oversight Committee for the RAPS program. She holds a BA in Women's Studies and has over 24 years of experience working in human services. Welcome, ladies.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you guys here to share with us what you guys are doing at, Domestic Violence Services of Snohomish County. So can you sort of, I guess, start us off with what's domestic violence? How does that, categorized?
Great question.
Okay.
So domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that's used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another intimate partner.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So
And so
it doesn't, I think, like people might hear that and they think it's not always physical, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It can manifest in so many directions. But the main thing is it is about power and control. That's the bottom line. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the payoff.
I guess if you call it that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it could include sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, financial exploitation and abuse. Again, just designed to really lower people's contact with other folks, and control all actions that somebody might take in their regular life, including, timing them from the time they leave their work to the time they get home.
Wow.
How much time they're allowed to spend at the grocery store or with their children. It's a really multifaceted issue and problem for folks.
Yeah, I think,
That's sad.
I mean, there's probably a lot of people out there because it's not, they might think, well, I'm not getting beaten, I have a roof over my head or whatever, but that they probably are in an abusive environment, but they just don't know any different.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We have people all the time that talk to us and say, I'm not really sure I'm in a violent situation, but here's what's happening. So we have what we call a power and control wheel, and it kind of shows how that can manifest and what it may look like. And so often we'll give people this list and just say, well, look at this list and kind of see how you fit into the wheel or if you do.
Wow, that's a good idea.
And what we see is that they go, yes, 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 yes. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So it is helpful.
Yeah. Eye-opening but sad.
Very sad. Yeah.
And survivors reflect back that the psychological and emotional abuse can be a lot more painful than that black eye or a broken arm because
Right.
those things heal.
Right.
But some of that stuff that happens to us emotionally can last, the effects can last a really long time.
That self-esteem, right?
Absolutely.
So hard to build back up, I'm sure. So can you tell us about the services you offer for your
Yeah, absolutely.
people?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually, it's extremely varied.
Okay.
We offer a multitude of services. They would include legal advocacy.
Okay.
And when we say legal advocacy, it's not we are not attorneys. We don't practice law, so we wouldn't do that. So what we can do is help navigate the system. So someone may be wanting to get information on how to go about getting a protection order. So we can help them. We can say, here's the process. Here's what it looks like. And so that legal department, they do a lot of work and they see a lot of clients, as you can imagine. And then we can try to help refer them to an attorney if that's what they need or if that's what they feel like they need.
Okay.
So we can help do that. And then in addition to that, of course, we operate the shelter for our community. So in Snohomish County, we operate the confidential shelter. It's a 30-day emergency shelter.
Okay.
And so people can stay with us, and it's a lovely facility. We've only been there about 4 years, and so it's really, really nice. We're quite proud of it. And in addition to that, we have a huge housing, which, was sitting here with you guys, has really taken off for us, which is now offering people alternatives that they haven't always had.
Okay.
You know, usually that housing piece is the piece that keeps people from leaving.
Yep.
Because sometimes, like Karen was saying, where the control comes in, one of the things somebody wants to take away from you would be the security of if you leave me,
You've got nowhere to live.
you have nowhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the truth. They gradually begin to take away these pieces. They may not allow you to work, or if they do work, all of your income has to be brought back in. You may not have been given any information, any positive feedback. And so here's a person who says, okay, my choice is I can stay in this horrible relationship, but my child has food.
Right.
And my child has shelter over their head. So if I just take the hit, take the abuse, and lay low, walk on eggshells, maybe it'll get better.
Right.
And so it's a tough decision to make that final leap when
Right.
you realize what my choice would be is putting my children in my car, and now I have to live in a park. What do I do? I have no money. I have nowhere to go. And people have been threatened as well all along the path. I will tell them you're crazy. I'll tell them that you have all these issues. And so it becomes pretty heady. And housing is a huge component to keeping people there, and they realize it. So now our housing opportunities are huge. We're able to really help people in ways that we've never been able to. We can help with rapid rehousing as one of those areas. Karen, what all other housing pieces are there? There's so many.
I think a great thing that is a new way for us to meet the needs of survivors is the Flex Fund, which has a prevention component which helps prevent people from ever needing to come into our homeless shelter. If they're able to stay safely in their homes, but they're going to be unable to maybe make their next month's rent or they're past due on utility bills, we've got some money to step in and make that change. Sometimes it's as simple as people needing money to have the locks on their doors and windows changed so that they feel safe to stay where they're at. That's not always possible. And then we do have the emergency shelter for those folks, along with rapid rehousing, which is designed to help people quickly move into their own home and then start addressing the other needs their family might have. In Snohomish County, homelessness, the leading cause of homelessness for women and kids in Snohomish County is domestic violence. And so that flexible way to meet survivors' needs, instead of we've got an emergency shelter and a few units of housing, it's really changed for us. Along with rapid rehousing, which is really meant to help people get self-sufficient within about a year's length of time. So we can put families in with no income to start, and often somebody who's leaving a really dangerous situation, they've had to leave their place of employment just for safety. Then we also have some permanent housing that we have with the Everett Housing Authority, and that's for families coming straight out of emergency shelter into 19 units of apartments, and they can stay as long as they like. That can be permanent housing for them, or if there's vouchers available, Section 8 vouchers available at the end of their program with us, they can move on and use their vouchers. So there's just so many more housing opportunities than we've ever had before.
That's great. So I have a question about the emergency shelter. Is it for women and children only then, or?
No,
Can-
it's
Go ahead, Karen.
so it's women and children, men and children,
Okay.
single men, single women. We don't we don't shelter men in the main emergency shelter. We put them in hotels and offer them all the same services that they'd get while they're in shelter. That would be an advocate, any clothing, and all of their food items that they might need.
Okay.
So unfortunately, anybody can be a victim of domestic violence, and we want to be there to serve all of those individuals or
That's
families.
Yeah.
That's good. And so you guys' services are free then and confidential?
They are, and that's a key component that we always want people to understand. So we want to really eliminate the barriers that keep people or can keep people in a bad situation. And one of those is income, as we've talked about. So all of our services are free and certainly confidential. So people can call our hotline, which is 425-25-ABUSE. They can call 24/7. No one is going to ask them to give me your name. And they can just call and talk to somebody and know that they can talk as long as they want. And some of those calls have lasted literally hours because for so many people, they may not have shared that information before.
Because they don't tell anybody. A lot of people
They
keep
don't.
that secret, right?
Yeah.
They don't even
Exactly.
know they're being abused.
So they know now they're in a safe space, they've got a free moment, and they have someone on the other end who honestly understands where they're coming from. A lot of our volunteers and a lot of our staff are survivors.
Oh,
That's why they have the
great.
passion for the work that they do. So, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So do those people that take those calls, do they go through some kind of training to be able to help?
They do.
Yeah.
It's a requirement, actually, through our grants through DSHS and should be.
Yes.
So they initially, anybody who works with us or volunteers with us is required to have a 20-hour upfront training program, and then 30 hours continual education every year thereafter that they're
Okay.
there. Yeah, and they can use a multitude of things. They can use some levels of webinar. They can use some books, but also a lot of it is required in place, actual conference materials and that kind of thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it is really good. So go ahead. Do you have a
So,
question?
I was just curious. So, how do people, how do they find you? I mean, do you guys
Yeah.
have outreach or do they just?
We do a ton of outreach in our community. We work with lots and lots of community partners. We go talk wherever we're invited to do outreach to folks. We also have advocates stationed at the CSOs, the community service offices at DSHS, that can meet with people right there. So there's, I think, 6 locations in our county where we have advocates stationed. We also have an advocate stationed at the Monroe Police Department, who's a Spanish speaker and can help folks who are living in that area of the county.
Okay. How many employees do you have?
We actually have 27 full-time employees, but then we have a whole cadre of course, volunteers, but also what we call relief staff, which we are always, by the way, in need of. So if anybody's interested in that, they should contact us at that hotline number. But that relief staff is very helpful because they step in and can assist when people are gone on vacation, when there's training opportunities and people are gone during the holidays, just all kinds of times. So when you include them, I think we're close to about 40 employees that are paid. And then we probably have, I want to say last time it was near 80 volunteers that assist us throughout the year doing different things. Yeah.
What about a listener or someone, how can they help someone that they know is experiencing or they think is experiencing domestic violence?
Well, I think probably the most important thing is to listen and to believe them.
Right.
Because so often we get frustrated. All of us, people go back. They just do.
Oh, they go back to the situation.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
On an average, people go back 7 times.
Wow.
Wow, really? 7 times?
And it's frustrating for everybody. We talk a lot with law enforcement because they're our dear friends. They're our allies. They go out and risk their life every day. And so often, unfortunately, it's domestic violence calls where it becomes so violent. And they get frustrated like we get frustrated that people go back. But we need to understand that's part of the process. People hold on to hope. And that's not what they went into. And they want back what they had. And they've got their children. And they just want it. They just don't want to be hurt anymore. So they really deal a lot with that. And it's challenging.
Yeah. And it's, I think it's important that everybody remember this isn't a stranger. This isn't stranger abuse. This
Right.
is somebody that people have built families and homes and have hopes and dreams for. What we try to do is recognize that people may go back and let them know that the doors are always open. And often every time that they may do that process, they'll learn a little bit more about how domestic violence works and how to be prepared if you do decide that you're going to leave this relationship, how to do it safely. We know that when a person is leaving a violent relationship, they're at the most risk of having a horrible event happen to them. And that's one thing that we do with families is safety plan. What do you want your kids to do if this happens again? What can you do if you see this happening again? And it's part of the work that we do with almost everybody is just to safety plan with them, to help them
Be prepared in case
have
something
them be
happens.
prepared.
And that's so
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what is your guys' needs right now? What do you guys need? How can people help?
Oh my gosh. Well, our paramount need always are those wonderful volunteers, relief staff, like we were talking about, always helpful. There's a lot of people who is a survivor, who has that passion to help other people, that got out, that managed to find themselves in a great place now in their lives or moving forward, and they want to give back. And those are the charming, wonderful people that we love and we want back, and we want them to help with us. So that's always a paramount need. And then also there's needs for shelter, just because it is what it is. And we like to be able to give people, when they come in, that we like to be able to give them a fresh new pillow. They get a new quilt. Everybody gets a little teddy bear. All the kiddos do. And so we want to be able that when they leave, they can take those things with them. So those are things that constantly have to be replaced. As you can imagine, there's paper products and that kind of things. We have 52 beds in our shelter.
Okay.
And it's been there just 4 years. We were saying it's new. Our previous shelter had 15 beds.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine that leap from 15 to 52 became kind of a shock to us all. But we had a long time to work through that. So the needs increased tremendously. And so there's always a need for towels, paper products, oh my goodness, diapers, all kinds of things. So we have a wish list that we keep active on our website. And I would highly recommend that if anybody wants to actually help us with material things, that's a great place to look. In addition to that, as always, a donation, a gift of dollars goes a long way. There's a lot of things that we can buy at a better price than maybe somebody else could purchase for us.
Right.
So that's always a beautiful gift. And we run a thrift shop called New and Again. And that thrift shop is great. So if people have items that they're trying to declutter for the new year, send them our way. We'd love to have that.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
I love that. I'm
Yeah.
decluttering. Some stuff for you. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the show and sharing all that you do. When we come back from this break, we're going to be talking about the Riley Johnson Team Market Update. And today we're going to discuss the tax reforms for 2018 and how that can affect your ability to write off your mortgage interest.